Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the seventh episode of the Lean Talks. And today we are going to discuss about GitHub, and open source. We all know that Hacktoberfest is coming, and I really wanted to wear the Hacktoberfest T-shirt, but it was in the laundry, so I couldn't wear that. But yeah, anyways. So yes, if you guys can hear me, just let me know by pressing a hi or a hello in the chat section. I am reading the chat section simultaneously. So if you guys are able to hear me clearly, just put up a hi or a hello in the chat section, and that will be an indication for me that I'm good to go and we can start off with the webinar. So yes, open source is one of my favorite topics, although like it's been a lot of time since I've contributed to open source. But yes, there was a time when I was a regular contributor and I've contributed to a lot of repositories. But yes, it's still one of my favorites, and I'm super excited to talk about it. And we are going to I have so many stories to tell you about um, how open source can help you and what all things can open source do for you. So I'm super excited. I can't just wait to start and tell you all those things, all those stories. And of course, as always, I'll be constantly watching the chat section. So if you have any doubt in between, any doubt, like feel free to mention it. If possible, I'll reply. So yes, do not hesitate to put up anything in the chat section. All right, let's go. So today's topic is getting started with GitHub, and open source. Before starting, I just want to ask one question from you guys. Like, are you all aware about this thing called Hacktoberfest? Just a yes or a no, so that I am able to know like how many of you are aware about that. It's a great program, and at least we all get a free T-shirt, right? So it's really amazing. So I would love to know that. Do you know about Hacktoberfest? So Hacktoberfest is just one of the many programs which are there for to uplift the open source community. Many of them are like GSOC, GSSOC, and so many outreachy, and there are endless. So for the people who don't know what is open Hacktoberfest, so I just saw many no's in the chat section as well. So we are going to discuss about them today as well. So basically, Hacktoberfest is a month-long program which is organized by GitHub and DigitalOcean every year, every October. And basically, you have to make around 5 or 6, I think, pull requests into any open source project. And once, like at the end of the October, if you were able to raise 5 or 6 PRs, you will get a T-shirt and some free stickers. And it's really cool T-shirt. Trust me, it's super cool. So yes, today I'm going to help you out about like how can you get that free T-shirt for yourself. So I'm super excited about it. And before we go, like I have mentioned the links to the GitHub repo that I'll be using for teaching you how to, I mean, get started with open source and how to make your first open source contribution. And I have also mentioned the link to my presentation, the slides which are visible on the screen. Oh, that this way. Okay. So yeah, the presentation which are visible on the screen. Uh, Again, that is also mentioned in the comments. Feel free to open it and feel free to use it anytime you want. It has a lot of information about GitHub, and open source. So yes, before starting, as always, like this is usually my first slide. Like, why do we require meetups and webinars and not just YouTube tutorials, online courses, and college classes? So these three things, I'll go over it very quickly today, but this is important. Always keep in mind this is important. First of all, you get a chance to discuss about the new trends, technologies, and advancement in tech. Second thing, you find like-minded people, you network with them, and you increase your knowledge. So hey, thanks a lot, Anusaya. Like, I know it's been a long time. It's been almost 3 weeks since I took my last Lean Talks. Basically, I was super busy these days. I had some work, some deadlines, and some other commitments. So yeah, I could not make time for Lean Talks last Saturday. But yes, don't worry, I'll be consistent from now on. All right. So Sarveshwara asked that where will be the links? Where will the links be available? It's available in the comment section, like just below this video. You can find this, Sarveshwara. All right. So yes, coming back, why meetups and webinars and like conferences and all these things. So first of all, you get a chance to discuss about the new trends and technologies. Second, you find like-minded people. So yes, like definitely do interact with the other people as well, not only with just me, with the others who are attending this webinar as well. It would be super duper exciting if you just keep interacting with each other, and you'll make a lots of friends. And of course, we don't have an option of physical meetups, so webinars and all is the only option right now. And the best thing, ask queries anytime. Like, we are here, like not me, we are here to help you out. There are many people in the chat watching this webinar right now who are super experienced in like open source and all. So yes. Okay, so Arvind just asked me why links aren't allowed to drop up in live chat. Arvind, it's a policy of YouTube. I think we are not allowed to share links in the live chat. So yes, just you can do a workaround though. Instead of pressing that, like let's say madhavbahel.tech, instead of that, use Madhav Bahel and space tech, something like that, and you can mention it like that. But yeah, the exact links aren't allowed by YouTube. So no other way around. All right. So Ansuman asked me, "What's your tech stack?" So I've been working on a lot of things lately. Like I know Java, the language which I like the most is JavaScript. I've worked on Java. I've worked on C Sharp and Node.js and all the like. I've explored a lot of technologies, but the tech stack which I love the most, at least in web development, is MERN. Mongo, Express, React, and Node. But yeah, let's not go too deep into it. Today's agenda is on your screen. First of all, why open source? What do we mean by open source? A little overview about GitHub, little overview about Git, little overview about version control, and then your first open source contribution for today. All right. So first of all, do you know what do we mean by open source? A simple question. I even put up a video on LinkedIn and Instagram today about this thing. Like, people have many misconceptions related to open source. Do type in, like, feel free to type in anything that you know about open source. What is your current knowledge about open source? Feel free to type that in the comment section. I just get confused with which direction the chat section is. Okay, no problem. But yes, okay. So Harshit, by the time being, I'll answer the questions which people are asking me. Harshit, okay, the company is coming to your campus for SD intern. Any guidance? Let's connect on LinkedIn, maybe, Harshit. Otherwise, um, it would be off topic for a little for today. So, Code just asked me how much time will it require to learn MERN. Approximately, I would say 2 months would be a good guess, like at least for basics and to get you started. 2 months would be a right guess. And I want to start my journey in web development. Can you guide me, please? Definitely, Sarveshwara. Just DM me on LinkedIn. I'll send you some links which can help you out, and I can guide you. Just DM me, and do not forget to follow up. I generally reply around 24 to 48 hours. So yes, do follow up if I forgot to reply. All right, a little bit. Contribute your ideas, view code, everything. Awesome. For everyone, by everyone. Awesome. So I really loved this definition. So what do we mean by open source? For everyone, by everyone. That's amazing. Awesome. So Shreya just mentioned FOSS. So FOSS is free and open source software. Okay, source code is exactly. So this is the exact definition of open source softwares. So basically, open source software is a sort of type of computer software in which the source code is available on the internet, but it is released under a license in which the copyright holder grants the user the rights to change, study, distribute the software for any purpose. So yes, there's a huge misconception revolving around open source. So people generally ask me, like, this truly happened last year. I even released a YouTube video today, not YouTube, LinkedIn video on LinkedIn and Instagram today. So basically what happened, was someone just asked me that why do we care about open source? That everything is free, then why do we care about open source? Like we cannot directly earn money from open source software. Then why do people care about open source? Why is the whole open source community blooming so much? Why is the open source ecosystem developing so much? I'll get back to it, but let me see what all answers did people give for the open source. All right, so Adit just answered source code is available for everyone. Yes, that's true. That's exactly true. Sure, Harshit. Okay, open source means developers contribute their softwares for free. Kind of, not completely. Maybe free, maybe not. An open source code base is available. Yes, exactly. That's the whole definition of open source. Awesome. Great. So Anjali just told a very great definition of open source: commit, push, pull, and merge. Awesome. So yeah, that's the process. That's not exactly open source. All right. So this is something very important for you guys to know, that why do we actually care about open source? Because if we are not clear with why are we doing this and what are we, or maybe what am I as an individual getting or gaining from open source, unless and until we know that, there won't be any extrinsic motivation, right? And unless and until we have any motivation, we are not we can't stay consistent. So yes, so basically this is a huge misconception that open source softwares are free. Yes, they are free. Yes, the source code is available, but they might not be completely free, and there is a huge money involved in it. So basically what happens is, an open source, generally people think that open source software is a software whose source code is available on the internet for everyone to use as they want. However, the first part of this assumption is correct, that open source software is a software whose source code is available. But the second part of this definition, which is all there in almost everyone's mind, is incorrect, that it is available for everyone to use as they want. Basically, every open source software has a license associated with it. Licenses, you must have heard about MIT license, Apache license, general public, GP, and there are so many licenses, right? So basically, what people do is it might or might not be free for use. So basically, there might be a license that allows users to use, or maybe developers to use, that particular source code or to use that particular software in their personal projects or in their learning projects, but not in the commercial projects. So that's the difference. So first of all, this proves that open source software does not mean that there is no money involved in it. Second example, as I already told in today's video, if you haven't, check out my LinkedIn profile, it would be there. But yes, so second thing is, there are thousands of programs, like not thousands, that is exactly exaggeration, but yeah, there are many programs related to open source which are started by many great companies. For example, GSOC, for example, Outreachy, Hacktoberfest. So GSOC, you must have heard about it. They, like, if you get selected for GSOC, you are going to get a very insane amount of stipend. Like, it's $3,000 in India. So $3,000 is a huge amount, right? So Outreachy, they also have a very good program, and this Hacktoberfest, like, just for five pull requests is a child's play. Like, it's easy, it's very easy, and just for five pull requests, you get a free T-shirt and some free stickers. They want to promote the open source culture. So yes, again, this proves that open source is not like there's no money involved in it. There's a huge amount of money involved in it. Again, so let's say another example: if you have an open source project and it gets viral, so I mean, it gets a huge attention of developers. Like, let's say I built a library which does some XYZ work, and a lot of developers are using it. So some great companies or some brands can pay me for their promotion. Again, money is involved. Fourth thing is, there are so many things like Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon, or there are some other crowdfunding, so like crowdfunding softwares as well. Basically, you can ask your users to donate money. So again, there's a lot of money involved in this open source thing. So do not think about that like that open source is, there's no money involved in open source. But yes, even if there is no money involved in open source, is like, at a student level, like, it's still beneficial for you. Like, I recently did a podcast, not recently, around a year ago, with one of my seniors, Arushit. So he's a GSOCer, and he told me how his journey in GSOC helped him crack his first coding interview. Like he's placed in Akamai, I think, and he like during his recruitment process, they asked him about his like he told about his open source journey, and they were super impressed by it. So yes, open source is in favor for you. So why do we, like why do I and why do you at a personal or maybe at an individual level care about open source? So I'll be taking this very quickly, like these 5 points. Always keep in mind, first of all, people from all over the world are going to contribute to your code, and what do they get out of it? Again, they get the same thing from it. It's a give and take process, and by doing that, code quality will be very good maintained. It reduces the duplication of efforts. How? Let's say I'm releasing my software, like I did something, I needed a library for that. It's if any open source library is available for free for use, I'll take that. But if it's not available, and if some paid library is available for it, I might think twice that for my personal project, do I even need to pay them? I'll start making my own library for the same thing. So yes, it reduces duplication of efforts. And fourth thing, it showcases your talent, your skills, and your competence. Again, as I took the example of Arushit, he GSOC helped him get placed in his first company. So it's a proof. Like first of all, we all know that recruiters these days they actually look at your GitHub profile, and when they see that this guy has did a lot of open source contribution, it's a proof that yes, you know the things, because everything is available out there, just like blogging, just like technical writing, where you write blogs and where you show that you know the stuff. Open source contribution is just like that. You are contributing to someone else's project, your code is in his project, and it is available on your GitHub profile. What more proof do you need to show that you have skills and talent required for the company? So yes, it's very good. And then the fifth thing is lift the community. Let's say I contributed to an open source software. The next day, that open source software is being used by millions of people. So I will feel empowered that I contributed to something that millions of people out there are using. So trust me, it's a very good feeling. So yes, in simple word, by open source I mean each and every project out there which you can find on GitHub, which of course is not private repository, is an open source project. So to make a contribution, you just need to find a project that suits you and an issue to work upon. So yes, open source is love, because the more you contribute, the more awareness and the more ideas you get. So very simple example, let's say I have an open source project called anything, like let's say I made an open source project to keep a track of my reading habits. Maybe you can get an idea from my project and you can start making your own project, which is a better version of it and which uses the same libraries that I'm using. So you can get a lot of awareness and ideas. So doing projects in collaboration with super. So here's the time where I'm going to tell you my stories. So it was 2018 when I actually started a little bit of open source contribution, and trust me, I made so many friends, people from all over the world. Like when you start contributing to open source, there's a huge developer community, and trust me, you'll feel so good. Like within months you can find so many like-minded people, you'll be a part of so many communities, and you'll be friends with so many like-minded people from all over the globe. And it's again itself is a feeling of empowerment, and it gives you a lot of intrinsic motivation to keep coding. So yes, I hope that was enough motivation to get you started. All right, so before going forward, let's take a look at the comments. So open source is a platform for many developers to pick up the required skills they start out. More importantly, though there are many commercial softwares that consume open source softwares. Yes, exactly. The last point, I completely agree with it. Like there are many commercial softwares as well, which React is a very simple example. Like there are many projects made using React, and React itself is an open source library. So yes. What happens if we use this licensed code in our project, and is there any penalty? So it depends on the license. So very simple example. Just go to any. Okay, let me just go to any simple. Okay, let's go to GitHub, and inside GitHub, let's explore the repository. Okay, MLH. Okay, let's explore some repositories now. Okay, Pokey Clicker. So let's go to this particular repository. So here, as you can see, there might be a license here. I'm not able to find it. Okay, let's take an example of my own repositories maybe. Just give me 1 second. So okay, let's go to my daily code based repository. So here you can see it's licensed under MIT license. So there are there are n number of licenses. So depending on that license, the license, depending on the definition of that license, it gives you the amount of freedom of the things which you can do with that particular code. So Naveen, basically, if it is licensed under Apache or MIT, these are very like full of freedom, I would say, licenses. So just read about those licenses. So basically, I would say that whenever you consume any library in your project, just have a look at the license which it is released under. So if it is released under a common license like MIT and Apache, there's no need to worry about. But yes, if there might be some other license which actually does not allow you for commercial projects, so in that case you might be penalized. But yes, don't worry, like I think you might be asking for your personal projects. For personal projects, most of the licenses are like, they do not actually, personal projects for learning and for learning purpose, they do not care that much about it. So yeah, but yes, do check about the license, which license is your that particular library released into, like when you're using it. Are there any videos made by you about GSOC? Not really. Like I'm not a YouTuber actually. Like I just started off by making videos by coming live recently on YouTube, and I just found a lot of support from all of you guys. So I'm super overwhelmed by the support you are giving me, and I'm super thankful. But yes, maybe I can make a few of them. So yeah, just keep giving me ideas on what all videos do you want me to make. Simple. So I have this Google form. It's madhavbahel.tech/suggest. I'll show it on my screen as well. So basically, this Google form has option to where you can suggest me anything, and trust me, I keep an eye on the things you are suggesting me, and I try to include it in my LinkedIn posts or my YouTube videos. So yes, I can start off with YouTube videos if you want, but yeah, as of now I haven't. All right, so okay, can beginner do open source via Hacktober? Yes, definitely. Like in my first Hacktoberfest, I was a complete beginner, and trust me, I won a T-shirt, and I'm going to tell you about all those things. Like if you are a beginner, what all repositories should you find? If you are an experienced person, how can you find your projects, and so on. Just hang on with me till 7 p.m. Like you are going to learn a lot. Trust me. Great, Anshuman. Awesome. So can I delete my forked repo from my profile after making the pull request? Yes, definitely you should. So after you have made the pull request and that pull request has been accepted, there's no need of keeping it in your GitHub profile. Like maybe you can keep if you want to display that you have that. But yeah, I don't feel that there's a need. You can display, delete. Will there be any Android project in Fest? Like yes, definitely there will be a lot of Android projects. Trust me. Great, awesome. So let's get started. So first thing is GitHub profile. Like how can GitHub has now become a sort of social platform for us developers. So let's have a close look at GitHub. How does it look? So for the people here, like I don't know the experience of you guys, so that's why I'm going from complete scratch. So forgive me for like the people who are having some experience. Do forgive me for going everything like taking everything from scratch, and the people who are viewing the recorded session of this one, you can skip a few minutes if you already have a GitHub account. So basically, GitHub is this place where I'm going to tell a lot about GitHub right now, but do make sure that you have an account on GitHub. It just takes 3 steps to make a GitHub account. enter a username, enter an email, choose a password, and then sign up. That's it. And once you do that, your GitHub profile will look something like this. Uh, so again, like my repos, like this slides which I have, they have the whole setup, like how can you set things up. So you can feel free to visit my slides, which are madhavbahel.tech/lean talk/os. You can feel free to visit it at any point of time, and it will be there, and you can take help from it. So yes, basically this is how our profile used to look. So recently GitHub changed its UI, and now it looks like this. So basically we have this overview where we can pin our repository. So do you remember my point of showcasing your talent and skills? So here's the point. This is the screen where you can showcase the projects which you have done. So these are the pinned repositories, and these are your contributions over last year. GitHub keeps a record of contribution over each year. So yeah, I was very, very active on 2018, but as in 2020, like these days I have a little busy schedule, so I'm not very active. But yeah, anyways, so here this column shows your followers and the followings and the number of starred repositories. Yes, and these are the repositories. This section will show your repository. So that was it. Like this is a simple portal. GitHub is a portal which you can use to sort of manage your repositories and all those things. So yes, here's I mentioned an article on Medium in my slides, which you can use to actually get to know about all these things, where like these things about Git and GitHub. Again, about Git, I'm also going to tell you in a few minutes. So yes. And yes, getting a like on Instagram is much more easier than getting a star on GitHub. And again, getting a follower on Instagram is much more easier than getting a follower on GitHub. So yes, feel proud whenever you feel that whenever someone stars your repository or whenever someone follows you on GitHub. All right, so Lakshya just asked me that I am a beginner. I have experience in React. So how can I search project related to React where I am going to tell you that, Lakshya, like just hold on for 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to tell you everything about how can you get started and how can you find your own project, like the project which you are looking for. And all of these things are going to be discussed today. So yes, the basics is GitHub is like any other like social networking sites which are present out there today, and it has your personal information, your bio, your orgs. So basically, this okay. This section contains the organizations which are a part of it, which you are a part of, and all these things like repositories, the star repositories, the followers and followings, creating a repository, and all these things. So yes, now I have a question from all of you. What is a version control? Okay. Any idea? Like, do you have any idea of what is a version control? And trust me, this is going to help you a lot. Like in my interviews, I really got a question in which they asked me to code my own version control, and it was a very good experience. Like I had the knowledge of internal workings of GitHub, like not exactly code. They just asked me to design a version control, like from which, like if Git was, I wouldn't like Git, like how would I approach it? And that was really amazing. So that was one of my favorite questions. So I loved answering it. So yeah, awesome. So people have started answering it. Okay. So Sarveshra just asked how to be a part of various organizations. It depends. So some organizations have links which you can directly click on to get an access. Like they generally have this, some of them, and some of them basically automatically send you a request to be a part of their organization once you start contributing to your repositories. So I would suggest just start contributing to the repositories of any particular org, and you will get a request, and they'll automatically see that you are contributing, and they'll add you to their organization. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's a social media for developers. Yes. So file tracking system, I wouldn't completely say that it's a file tracking system, but yeah, controlling the version of the software we can upgrade. Yes, definitely. Exactly. Yes, that's basically to the point, like very very good. I mean, someone like it's a simple software that helps you track the versions of the software, and if it's not working properly or if you find some bug, you can revert back to your last version on any, or for that matter any version in the history. It's a platform to manage changes. Yes, exactly. It's an ability to keep time tracking. Yeah, you can say that. Software tools that helps record our changes to our files by keeping a track of modification. Exactly. Very, very well said, Shreya. Yes, helps to track of every change in project. Yes, exactly. And the app goes through a number of versions, like different upgrades. Yes, exactly. So I think that you all have a little idea about version control. So I'm going to tell it very quickly. So basically, a version control system, VCS, is nothing but they are also softwares. So they are the softwares, tools which help software developers like us and the teams of software developers manage changes to the source code over time. So just think about it. Basically, let's say 4 or 5 people are working on the same code base. Like maybe I did some changes, so it will keep a track of what change was done by what person. So that's as simple as that. Like no heavy definitions, nothing. Like a version control software keeps a track of every modification done to our code in a special kind of database. Like we'll come to that later on, but yeah, for now just think about it. Okay, so yes, if a mistake is made, developers can revert back the clock and compare earlier versions and of the code, and to help fix the mistake and minimizing the disruption to all the team members and as well as the production released code. So let's say if you have released the code to the production and you then made any mistake, you can easily revert back to any previous release that is already working. So yes, as simple as that. But what if there was no version control? If there was no version control, let's say Bob was working on a code base, Carol, Alice, Ted, everyone made their changes, and it's a recipe for disaster. So why do we need version controls? To basically manage how we work and manage and keep track of modifications done to the code base. Adit just asked me, I wonder how software used to be written without version control software system. I'm going to tell you a very, very funny story, Adit, here. That in my first year, I was working on a project, and in my first year, I didn't have much idea about version control. We used to share our files using Gmail. So never do that. Literally never do that. Like it's again a recipe for disaster, and you would never want to do that. Awesome. So Aman just said that it also keeps track of modification and exactly right on point. And yes, track our code if something went wrong. Yes, exactly. So you guys already have a good knowledge about all these things. So yes, exactly. Even I can't imagine my developer life without VCS. It's impossible for these days. All right, so to learn more about version control, you can check out this blog by Atlassian, what is a version control? And they've also mentioned a few examples of version control. So Git is not the only version control. There are many, many version controls. So now let's jump on to our open source discussion. The prerequisites are just Git and GitHub. So if you want to know about Git and GitHub, like I'm also going to tell you a little bit about the Git, but yes, I would recommend. So all these links to the resources are there in my slides. You can just open my slides anytime. It's madhavvel.tech/leantalk/os, and you can have a look at these slides, and you can access these resources anytime. So I would definitely recommend. So this was the thing from where I started my journey in my first year. Git crash course. It's superb. It's just 30 minutes by Traversy Media. I would definitely recommend this. Like if you are a beginner in version control and using Git, I would definitely recommend this small crash course. Within 30 minutes, he have taught almost all usable commands in Git. All right, so let's get started. So what is Git? So simple. Git is a sort of version control system, and right now Git is the most used version control system, and it's considered to be the best friend of any developer today. So Git versus GitHub. Some people think that Git and GitHub are the same things. No, Git and GitHub are not the same thing. Uh, Git is a version control system. It's a tool to manage your code history, while GitHub is a hosting service for Git repositories. So clearly, they are not the same thing. Like in short, Git is the tool, and GitHub is the service which enables us to use that tool over the cloud and over remote places. So yes, Git and GitHub is not the same thing. Always keep that in mind. So I had not used any GitHub for my very first C++ project for CBSC in class 12th, and yes, exactly. So I wonder sometimes, like, why do they not teach about these things in our school days itself? Like, I seriously wonder. But maybe from now, the new education policy is here. Uh, maybe they improve, who knows. All right, so little working about Git. So here you might get confused, so do not worry, I'll try to explain as in a like as much as I can. But if you feel any doubt, do feel free to ask me in the comment section. So I'm going to discuss the little like overview of the working of how Git works. That will be very important for you in the long term. So yes, do pay attention. All right, I'm sounding like a teacher. I don't want to sound like a teacher, but okay, guys. Okay, students, do pay attention. But anyways, okay. So Git thinks of the data more like a series of snapshots in a miniature file system. So basically, like I'm going to let's take an example. So let's say there were three files in our project: file A, file B, and file C. So basically, at every point of time, whenever we make a commit or whenever we take a snapshot, basically, whenever we save, it's very similar to saving our progress in a game. So for every gamer out there, everyone who plays games, you must be aware about these things. Like we can save our progress if we have to quit somewhere, right? Any It would be a very bad game if they would force us to play it like 24/7. So every particular game has an option of quit, from where we can save our progress and continue it from wherever we left. About me, like I used to play Assassin's Creed and a lot of games initially. So yes, gaming is wonderful. But anyways, okay, so very simple example. Let's say our project contains three files: file A, file B, and file C. So whenever we save our progress, the Git will take snapshot of these files. And let's say I made a change to file A and file C, and then I saved my changes. So basically, at that point of time, Git will actually make a second snapshot, but in that snapshot, it will only update the contents of file A and file C, because B has not been changed. So that's very efficient. And then again, let's say if in version 3 I change my file 3 C, it will move file C to C2. So these are the so-called snapshots. So basically, every time you make a commit is something like saving your state. So every time you save the state of your project, Git basically takes a snapshot of how your files look at that particular moment and stores it in a reference to that snapshot. So to be efficient, if the files have not been changed, Git will not store that file again. It just links to that previous identical file, as we saw. So that's it. That's the simple working of Git, and that's more or less what we want to know right now. So yes, some cool terms. Snapshot is basically the records of all files at a given point of time, so that you can look up to them at any point later. A commit is basically the process of creating a snapshot. So yes, you are advised to commit whenever you feel that there were any significant changes made to your code. A repository is basically the location or the storage where all your files are stored. Head, basically the reference to the most recent commit is called head. Branches, let's discuss the system of branches. The concept of branches is very, very important. All right, so which tech has larger communities and projects to work available? According to you, which tech has larger? I think in today's date, JavaScript is blooming a lot. Like JavaScript is React JS and Vue JS, Angular JS, these technologies. Like if you want to be, so for first thing is, Kaushik, I would like to say that first of all, decide what tech stack, what what domain do you prefer? Do you want to be a front end engineer? Do you want to be a back end engineer? Do you want to be a web developer? Do you want to be a app developer? Do you want to be a Android, iOS, or cross platform, or uh, desktop developer, desktop app developer? Or do you want to be a system admin? Or do you want to be a network, cyber security expert? Or do you want to be into DevOps? There are thousands of domains. So first thing is choose a domain, and every domain has some, like, a lot of opportunities. So then choose your like language. So talking about web development, so initially, like previously, people used to choose PHP as a backend, like whenever they used to explore backend. But these days, PHP is losing its popularity. So these days, you might want to go for Node.js or something like Django, or maybe Golang or something like that. So yes, first of all, decide what domain you want to choose, and after choosing that domain, then go for what tech stack has a larger community or opportunities. All right. Yes, definitely. I'm going to tell you about Hacktoberfest and how to get into it. Definitely, I'm going to tell you. All right. So now let's come to the concept of branches. So basically, in Git, Git follows a concept of branch. So basically, there is one main branch. You can think of it as a tree. There is one main branch which has the code, which has the deployable code. Like you can deploy that particular code to any point of time. So yes, the master branch. So you might have also heard about this recent news going on that they are going to change the name of the master. The GitHub is planning. But yes, anyways, let's not talk about that. Let's focus on the concept first. So basically, there is one branch where your code is stored, which is always deployable, or which is the main branch. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah. Okay, so master can be seen as a storage of code, which is the best possible code right now. So whenever you have to make a change, or have to add a feature, or have to make a bug fix, you will not directly change the code. So it would be basically very, very, like, foolish to change the existing code, right? Let's say I have my Android app running, which is being used by millions of people, and I directly change the code base, and I make some change, and just directly publish it. Let's say if my code had some bug, so users will start seeing that bug. So basically what happens is, we never touch the master branch directly. We never touch the main branch, never touch the main source code directly. What we do is, for every feature, let's say I want to add a feature, so what I'll do is, I will fork the repository, like I will sort of take a branch from the master branch. Basically, a branch at that point would be a copy of the code which is there in the master branch, and then I will develop my feature, and then once that is done, I will test my changes, and after the testing and all is done, I will merge it to master. As simple as that. So let me show you a very simple diagram. So there is this one branch which is master branch. Master branch can be seen as a trunk of the tree, and whenever we have to make any change or have to add any feature, we will take a branch out of it, just like the branches in the tree. So after that code is done, the only difference between the tree and Git is that the branch gets merged to the tree after the work is done. So I hope now you are clear. If you have any doubt, just let me know in the comments. All right, so now is the time for our open source contribution. Let me know if you have any doubt till now, like anywhere. Just put it up. All right. So Sumanto asked me, like, what's your opinion on Java Spring? Can you suggest some resource if you are aware of? Like, I don't have much experience on using Java Spring, but yes, I have heard a lot about it. So yes, I think it has a lot of opportunity in it. So yes, but resources, I think YouTube first of all, I always recommend the official documentation. If they are not good enough, then maybe you can go for any YouTube video. Yep. A good example, actually. Good example. So yes, I'll continue in 1 minute at 6:45. All right. So Sarveshwara said that I am total novice guy to open source. I still take part? Yes, and that's how I'm going to tell you how you can do that. Trust me. Like when I got my first Hacktober Tea Fest T-shirt in, I think it was in 2017. I think, I'm not sure. I was a complete noob. Like I just made contributions as simple as updating the README file. But trust me, every contribution is a contribution. No contribution is small. No contribution is big. I use like when I was a beginner, like I used to just wanted to get started, so I used to update readme files of whenever, even if it is fixing a typo in readme file, it's still a contribution. So yes, even if you don't know any language, you can still help improve the documentation. So yes, the only prerequisite for open source contribution is, I would say, that good communication skills. Like you must be able to communicate what change have you made, and that's it. Like it can be a change in documentation, it can be a change in, it can be as simple as a typo fix, it can be a change in the code itself. So yes. All right. So open source contribution in 6 simple steps. So first of all, I would like all of you to open this repository, which is inside logic execution, and kick off to open source. So this is the repository which I created a couple of years back to teach my juniors about open source contribution. So yes, just open it up. The link is here as well. So now coming on to the question of how to find a project to contribute to. So here's this thing. So basically the first step of starting open source is to find what project do you want to contribute to. So basically there are various ways in which you can find your projects. So first of all, I would say, like, this is the sort of algorithm which I tell to everyone. First of all, ask yourself, are you planning for GSOC or something in which you are going to stay loyal for some 1 or 2 organizations, or you are just doing open source contribution for contributing to open source project irrespective of the organizations? Just be true to yourself. This is the first question I want all of you to ask yourself. So if your answer is that you are aiming for GSOC, or you are aiming for Outreachy, and you want to contribute to a single organization, so here you go. So just ignore this slide, move to the next slide. What you can do is, you can find the organizations or projects which were selected for GSOC in previous 2 or 3 years. So I've mentioned the list of organizations which were selected for GSOC in past few years. Let's open 2019's history. So basically, once you open this page, you can search for projects and organizations and username. So there's this list of organizations, and you can even search for projects and so on. So let's say I do JavaScript. So this is how you can actually search for projects or so on. Yes, so Venkat just asked me that, is GSOC only for students? Yes, if you are still a student, you can apply for GSOC, otherwise you can't. So Ritika just asked, I'm a final year student. What is the roadmap for open source and GitHub? So if you have just started final year, so I'm going to talk about it. But yes, if you have entered final year, or you have exited final year, so if you were a final year student just like me, now you cannot apply to GSOC. But if you are a final year student, like roadmap for open source and GitHub, I'm going to tell you right now. All right. So yes, this was one way. Like you can just skim through all the repositories, and you can find like the projects. Like let's say Koala. So Koala basically is in more like in Python and Django. So yeah, this is one way you can find the organization you might want to contribute to. And you can even find like in the projects, just go to project, and you can just search for keywords, and you can find your own project. Like, and that's a one way. But at least for starting, I don't recommend this way. I recommend you to explore the fun of open source by just contributing to as many projects as you can. So how you can do that? So here are some list of websites where you can find your first project to contribute to. So let's take an example of issuehub.io. So basically, in this issue hub, you can basically search for keywords like Ruby and JavaScript, and it will search for from all the open source projects, and it will fetch you the results. So there are basically various labels. Whenever I start a open source project, let's say I start this daily code base. So inside that, I can open an issue. So inside that issue, okay, let's not say this one, but anyways, okay, let's say this one, phase one is over, help us improve. So inside that I can add labels. So labels are just like tags, like hashtags, like hashtag of GitHub. So yeah, so basically you can search based on labels. So these labels are like enhancement, feedback, help wanted, and questions. So issuehub.io basically search for labels and the languages. So let's say if you are a beginner, so I can select beginner and I can select JavaScript. It will search for all the issues. All the issue is basically like whenever I'm maintaining an open source project, let's say I need to add one more feature. So I can create an issue, I can go to issue and I can add a new issue, like want to add new feature, like let's say add a top navigation bar, as simple as that. So basically issues are the things which keep track of the features which have to be added or the bugs which have to be solved. So basically you can see a issue as a work item, as an open work item. So yes, issue hub, this thing issue hub will find, which help you find an issue which you can work upon. So yes, that's what I was going to say, Adit. So I will definitely add a Hacktoberfest label for the daily codebase repository, and that will help a lot of people to actually make contributions and get their free Hacktoberfest t-shirt. So yes, I was going to talk about that. All right. So yes, Devansh just asked, I am a CS first year student and I have some basic programming knowledge of C, Python and language. You can contribute. Yes, definitely. And trust me, even if you do not know any coding language, you can still contribute. So that's the beauty of open source. So even if you just know basic English, still you can contribute to by improving the documentation. Even if you don't know English, let's say if your native language is Hindi, you can still contribute. Let's say you can create an issue and say that adding support for documentation for Hindi language, for Hindi users. If you know like let's say Spanish, you can add Spanish language documentation. And trust me, there is no prerequisite for open source contribution. Like at the point where you are right now, you can still contribute to any open source project. Like not every, but yeah, you can find any. All right, so this was first example, issuehub.io. So let's say another example, first timers only. So this tag basically, first timers only, this tag is basically for the people who are making their first pull request. So let's say if you are a complete beginner and you are making your first pull request, so you can just you can search for this logo, like this label, first timers only. Let's say I open this particular repository. And after opening this repository, here's this first timers only, and you can just see you can see the thing which this particular person wants to do, and you can make the changes to the code, and as simple as that. So good first issue and beginner, and I hope you're getting my point, right? Like let's say if you are expert in HTML, you can search for HTML issues. About page, so it's a very simple example, right? Let's say if you have to add a small let's say any HTML contribution. So that's the point. I hope you got my point, right? So this is how you can basically search for easy pick and documentation. So let's say if you don't have any experience with any programming language, you can search for documentation based projects. So Pranav just asked me that I'm a third year student, and is it too late for me to start my open source journey? Never. It's never too late in life to start anything. Trust me. And third year is the perfect time. Like right now, you might have entered your third year, right? So just spend a few months to start getting started with open source. And from December, like choose your particular organization. Like let's say FOSS Asia. FOSS Asia is a good one, or maybe RTEMS, or maybe anything like Koala or something. and just choose your organization and start contributing to their projects. So if you start in December, you can, by the end of January, you can get in touch with all the mentors, all the people contributing in that particular organization. And once you are in contact with them, it will increase your chances of getting selected in open source, and they can help you. They can actually help you out in making your proposal for the project for GSOC. And so right now is I would say it's not late. It's the best time to start. Thanks a lot, Sarveshwara. It's actually, it's never to start. It's never late to start anything. Like right now, you can start anything you want. So Ritika just asked me, can a student of 2021 pass out batch apply for GSOC? I think yes. I'm not sure about that. You will have to. I'm not sure. Maybe ask some. I'm really not sure about that. You will have to ask on, maybe put up a question on Google. Put the same question on Google. I think you can find the answer. All right. So this was one example on how you can find your you can find your project. Second example is code triage. Very simple to this. You can find some issues and you can work on them. Third example is up for grabs. List of projects with issues that can be resolved only by beginners. So very simple. So game of life, Forge, JavaScript. You can search by tag. So let's say I'm a JavaScript developer. So I can click on JavaScript language, and it will filter based on JavaScript. And I can select any one of them, and I can do that. First timers only. So always. So always keep in mind this first timers only. So if you are, so Lakshay, what if someone graduated in 2019? No, you cannot apply for GSOC, but that's not the end of it, right? Open source is a huge journey. Like I think you should still do open source contributions, because it will be a proof for your talent and for your skills. And exactly, you'll make many new friends, you'll increase your network and all those things which I told in the beginning of this webinar. All right, so now let me finish this. So I'm going to take 10 more minutes and then I can revert back to the questions. All right, so first timers, the list of issues which are labeled with first timers only are basically the issues which are specifically for the people who are making their first contribution. So you can here on this website, you can find some open source projects where you can make your first contribution. And awesome first timers. So this is a very great repository. You can have a look at all those first PR opportunities in various languages. Let's say JavaScript. So many projects. So I hope. I'm so sorry. I'm tired of speaking, but yeah, I hope now you guys are clear about how to find your first project. Let me summarize. First thing is, ask yourself, do you want to find an organization or a project? If you are looking for an organization, just go through the records of which are mentioned here, the records of the selected orgs in GSOC. If you are like me, just willing to contribute for the fun of it, like I used to do it like that. So yeah, you can find your first issue using these websites. So I hope it's clear now. Awesome. So now it's not going to take too much time. So I'm just going to demo in front of you how can you make your contributions. How can you make your first open source contribution? So just go to this repository, the github.com/logic-execution/kickoff to open source. First thing is fork this repository to your own GitHub account. Simple, press this button and fork it to your own account. What forking does, basically forking creates a copy of the original GitHub repository into your GitHub account. So why do we need fork? Basically, the thing is, the actual repository is owned by someone else. I am not the owner, so I have no rights to change the actual repository, right? Otherwise anyone would just jump on and change the code. So there are these concept of owners of the repository and maintainers of the repository. So basically, like if I have to do any open source project, I cannot just jump in and change the actual code. So by forking the repository, I can create a copy of that original repository into my own GitHub account. So yes, that was the first step. Just fork the repository. Second step, So all the steps are mentioned in my slides as well. Second step is to clone the repository, clone your forked repository. So how to do that? Click on this button and then just copy this link. Go to your folder. Just go to the folder where you have to actually any directory in your local machine. Open your command prompt or your terminal if you are a Linux user. Inside your command prompt, just type this command git. Oh, first of all, like I just forgot about that. Before doing all these things, you should have git installed in your computer. How to do that? Just go to Google and ask download git. Just search for download git, and the first result which you get, which is git-scm, you can go through it and you can just download it for Windows, as simple as that. And then you can just follow a next process. It's very simple. I have this mentioned in my repository as well, I think so, but not if not in a repository, I must have mentioned it in the Medium. Like there are many resources which I have mentioned in the slides. Just go through them. So yes, this was our third step, clone the repository. So just type this simple command. If you want, I can increase the font size. Let me see if how can I do that. Okay, let me increase the font size to this. All right, so git clone and then the URL of the repository, or you can just copy the URL from here. So our third step is done. So these are 6 simple steps, like very simple step. First step was to find the project in which you want to contribute to. Like that's the basic logical step. Second step is click on that fork button. Third step is clone the repository. Oh, I cloned the wrong repository. Okay, just give me 1 second. I had to clone this repository. All right, so I'll open my command prompt again. And from here, I will go to my repository and I will copy this particular thing and I will type git clone, as simple as that. No rocket science. And now this basically cloning the repository means downloading the repository, downloading the source code to your local machine. As simple as that. Like very simple. All right, so a good question. Tech World just asked, like, what type of contribution qualifies as a PR in Hacktoberfest? Any PR, like any PR, trust me, any PR qualifies. At least till last year. I don't know if they have added any strict checks from this year. Last year was, I think this was the criteria that any PR which is not closed within 10 days. So if your PR is closed, which basically means that the owner of the repository rejects your change, then it won't be qualified for the Hacktoberfest. Otherwise, it will be qualified. So yeah. All right. So our third step is done. Third step was cloning the repository. So coming on to the fourth step, make the changes. So this is again a logical step like the first step. Make the changes which you want to do in your the source code. So basically, after I clone, basically the whole source code will get downloaded. I can go inside it. So I can cd into it, cd kick off to open source, and then I can open this repository in any of my code text editor. I use VS Code. It's my favorite. So yes, as simple as that. So just do the changes which you want to do. Like here, I can do a very simple change. Like let's say I can, what change can I do? Okay, just give me one. Contributors.md. I can add the name to the contributors list. All right, so let's remove this one, and I can add a name. Let's say Madhav Behel, and I can add this https github.com/Madhav Behel MD, and that's it. And I can add some of my information. So basically, this I'm just telling you the change which was actually there in the issue. So I will have a particular issue in that particular original of the so make your first contribution. It's written, the steps are written, like add your name, username, and bio. So this is my name and this is my username, and bio like the lean programmer. So this was a sort of sample contribution. So this basically, this step is like if you're contributing to any other particular repository, this basically means just make the changes which you want to do, then commit the changes and push it to your GitHub repository. The steps for that, very simple. First command, git add dot. This will basically add your changes. Then you want to commit the changes. Git commit -m. So -m is basically for the commit message. Added my name as contributor. And then finally git push -u origin master. Don't worry if you don't know git commands. I have mentioned a lot of resources. This particular crash course on git is going to help you a lot. So yes, if you don't know the exact commands, don't worry, you can just go to those links. That's it. And once I push these changes to the repository, to my local clone, so basically as soon as I do that, if I refresh the page, I will see this pop-up that this branch is one commit ahead of logic execution master. And then let's go to the next step, submit a pull request. So just click on this thing, pull request, and then add the details of your pull request and click on create pull request. Added my name. I can add some comments as well, like added the lean programmer as contributor. And as simple as that, create pull request. Simple. Like this was the simple 6 steps which you need to follow for making a pull request. As simple as that. And once I do that, you will be able to see a pull request was added, like added my name as a contributor. As simple as that. Like it's super simple. So yeah, that's it for today. Like now let's come on to the question. Like let's spend some time for the questions which you have asked. All right. So for the questions related to Hacktoberfest, let's go to their website itself. All right. So yeah, they haven't mentioned this time that they are going to accept 4 or 5 pull requests. I think last time it was 5 pull requests, but yeah, okay. So all right, let's continue with the questions for now. Okay, what is making a proposal? Basically, GSOC is something like you have to make a proposal to any particular organization. It would be like a kind of idea that you want, a project idea that you are submitting to that particular organization. So as simple as that, right? So you can just Google about making a proposal, what are the templates for that. But yeah, what is making a proposal? Submitting your project idea for GSOC is making a proposal. What type of contribution qualify as a PR? Any contribution. Okay, do we need to make just 4 pull requests, or these pull requests need to just 4 pull requests? They don't need to be merged, but they shouldn't be closed. Like they shouldn't be rejected. So yes, or I don't think it's 4. I think it's 5 this time, but I'm not sure. You can just check on the on 1st October. You can check on the website. You can use the new Windows terminal, Madhav. Yes, definitely I can. Okay, is updating the README file considered as a valid contribution to the repo? Yes, it is. I made 5 to 6 PR last year, but I did not receive Hacktoberfest. So there's a limitation. I think they give the T-shirt to only first 50,000 people. But I think 50,000 people is a good enough number. So yes, Shivangi, make sure you are doing those contributions first. What is a PR? Very good question. PR is basically a pull request. Why it is called? I was expecting this question. I'm super glad that you asked it. A pull request is basically, and so first of all, why is it called a pull request? Let me give you a simple example. So basically, what happened was in this particular, what I did was, there was this one original repository, and there was from this original repository, I copied the code and made a fork copy in my GitHub account. So this is the original repository, and this is my particular copied repository. Now, what will happen is whenever I do any change, it will get reflected in my repository, but not in the original repository. So what will happen is I am requesting the owner of the original repository to pull my changes into the original repository. Very simple. I am requesting the owner of the original repository to pull in my changes into his original repository. So that's why it is called a pull request. Yep. Basically, git clone. First thing is you are not giving a space between git and clone. So yeah, it has to be git space clone. And the second thing is git might not be installed in your computer. So yes, just go to this website git-scm.com/downloads and download it. Yes, I think they give the t-shirt to first 50,000. Yeah, Venkat. It's git space clone. So you are supposed to put a space. Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's 75,000 this year. That's awesome. That's super awesome. Yes, Lakshit. So as I was explaining in the initial part, so at uh, the the procedure of making a contribution is like, basically what you can do is like, so having a having a branch in your own repository is your own wish. So yes, you can do something like this. Let me just do it once again. So let's say I have to make one more pull request. I Instead of that, I do something like this. So instead of doing everything in master, that's a good point which you kept, Lakshya. So yeah, you can do something like this. You can create a new branch, git branch hyphen b. This denotes a new branch, and then the name of branch may be something like change details. Okay. Git checkout. Oh, I'm sorry, I just forgot the command. Git checkout. It was git checkout hyphen b. So yeah, so now my new branch, so now it's not master, as you can see here. It is change details. So what I can do is I can make it to the credit to codes, and I can save it, and I can raise a PR from a separate branch. So yes, it's as simple as that. Just check out to a new branch, and from here I can check which branch I'm working on. So I'm working on the change detail branch, and I can get a dot git commit person change my details, and then git push hyphen u origin master. Oh, not master, not master. Okay. Change details. So yes, this hyphen u you don't have to provide every time. This has to be done only the first time. Afterwards, you can just ignore this part, this whole part. So basically, the first time you have to set upstream. So yes, if I refresh this page now, it will say that your branch is one commit ahead, and I can create a new pull request. So that's it, Lakshya. Do we need to just make? Yeah, you just need to make a 4 or 5 pull request. Okay, help me to get started with React.js. Sure thing. I can just DM me on LinkedIn, and I can give you some resources. Okay, what are some best 101 what are some 101 best practices, like to have just one commit per pull request? Yes, there are some best practices as a beginner which I think you should follow. First of all, like every time whenever you go to any open source project, just check out this contributing. Like, this project does not have, but mostly open source projects will have this file called contributing.md. So every project have their own contribution guidelines. So make sure you follow all the contribution guidelines. And the second thing is, once you have raised the pull request, make sure, no matter if you're making 100 commits or 1,000 commits, just squash those commits into a single commit, and that's a good way. Let's say the Flutter chat. Let's open this one. Contributing. So even he does not have contributing.md. Okay. I think, yeah. So here they have contributing. So see the documentation from the form. So yeah, just check out the contribution guidelines. So every project will have their own specific contribution and style guides. So make sure you follow them. Yes, you don't need to have those pull requests merged. How to enroll for the Hacktoberfest? On 1st October, just sign up on their website and start making, just link your GitHub account with them and start making pull requests. Should we write some kind of proposal for Hacktoberfest 2? No, you don't need to. You just need to have 5 pull requests, and that's it. Can you tell me the timeline? Yes, 1st October to 30 October, like the end of October, the whole month of October. Do we get any certificate of participation? No, I don't think so. It's just the sticker and the shirts. What if there were many branches and we need to do a change in a particular branch? Very simple, like from that particular branch, just check out to a new branch and make your changes and merge that into the same branch. uh, could you, okay, so yeah, that's a good point. So I can tell you some my own open source things, like I can give you some so if you are a competitive programmer, so just go to this repository, git code to express slash daily code base. So you can just go to my GitHub account, github.com slash madhavlmd, and from there you can open this. So basically this is my repository, like this, I'm just promoting it a little bit. So yeah, this is my repository where I have one question for you guys each day. So within first 4 days you can make 5 or 6 pull requests. So so the thing is, this is a challenge for you guys to make sure that you code daily. So the thing is, you just need to solve these problems and just make a PR, like just make a folder. Like if you are contributing to JavaScript, just add your code in JavaScript folder and add some solutions with your name. So in C++, you can add those C++ names and you can just create a pull request, as simple as that. So yes, if you're looking for some simple like if you're looking for some simple things for a free t-shirt, this project can help you get the t-shirt, and it can help you increase your skills by making your code daily. So have this list of questions for each day for 60 days. So yes, I think this will help you a lot. And then coming back to your question, enough of promotion. So yeah, you can check out your projects for first timers if you want to have a first timer project. All right. All Rodney, all right. I'm so sorry. I'm just super tired for like it's been a lot of talking today. No, no, it's not a notable achievement. It's a very simple thing. Yep. Thanks. Great. Awesome, guys. So I hope you liked it. I'm still here for 5 more minutes. If you have any doubts, do mention it. I would definitely love to answer you. And yes, definitely, as always, I would really recommend all of you to code daily. So just take up this 100 days of code challenge and just code for 100 days daily and put out on LinkedIn or Twitter what all things did you learn today. It has a lot of benefits, like people will get to know that you are coding daily. You will inspire a lot of people, and you will start building a brand that, and you'll showcase your skills and talent and so on. Yep, you can. I will open the issues in my repositories and label them with Hacktoberfest very soon, maybe tomorrow itself, and then you can start contributing to them. That's great. That's great. Sure, DM me on LinkedIn. Yep. All right, guys. It was really, really great talking to you today, uh, and trust me, there, like open source, when you start contributing to open source, you will start making a lot of friends, and it's just an amazing journey. So yeah. All right, guys. So should we conclude the session for today, or do you have any more doubts? Any tips for making GSOC proposals? Nope, not really. Like you can just check out on Google. There are a lot of tips. Thank you, Sarveshwara. All right, guys. So that's it for today. And if you like this webinar, like do share it with, like I'm new to, like I'm just starting off my YouTube channel. So if you like this webinar, do share it on your LinkedIn or anywhere, like or Twitter. Like help it reach more and more people. Like it will support my YouTube channel as well. So yeah. All right, guys. Bye bye. See you in the next webinar. So I'll be back in 2 weeks. And again, don't forget about this thing called madhavell.tech/suggest. I'll give you the link once again, madhavell.tech/suggest. And do suggest what all topics do you want me to speak on. So yes, I would definitely love to take up these topics, and see you after 2 weeks on the 8th episode of Lean Talks. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye bye.